The day began like any other. I had just finished my morning coffee and was about to head to work when I noticed an unfamiliar envelope in our mailbox. It was addressed to my wife, Jessica, from someone named Mark. Curiosity got the better of me, and I opened it. Inside was a photograph of Jessica with our 3 children, Alex, Molly, and Ben. They were smiling and looked genuinely happy, but it was the message on the back that sent a chill down my spine. With love, from your true husband and the father of your children. My mind raced. Jessica and I had been married for 20 years. We had built a life together and raised 3 wonderful children. How could this be possible? I felt my heart pounding as I tried to make sense of the words. The room seemed to spin around me. That evening I confronted Jessica. I held the photograph and letter in trembling hands and showed them to her. "What is this, Jessica?" I demanded, my voice barely above a whisper. She turned pale, her eyes filling with tears. "I can explain," she began, but her voice broke. She sank into a chair, covering her face with her hands. "Explain what? That you've been lying to me for 2 decades? That our children aren't mine?" My voice was rising, fueled by a mixture of disbelief and anger. Through her sobs, Jessica confessed. She admitted that she had been having an affair with Mark for the entire duration of our marriage. It wasn't just a fleeting mistake, it was a continuous, deliberate deception. And the worst part, Mark was the biological father of Alex, Molly, and Ben. I felt like the ground had been ripped from beneath me. 20 years of memories, of trust, of love, all shattered in an instant. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. The woman I had loved and trusted more than anyone in the world had betrayed me most unimaginably. I needed proof. I couldn't simply take her word for it. We did DNA tests for the children, and the results confirmed my worst fears. Not a single one of them was mine. The devastation was complete. Rage and sorrow warred within me. How had I been so blind? How had I missed the signs? Every holiday, every birthday, every family moment now felt like a cruel joke. Telling the children was the hardest part. Alex was in college, Molly was finishing high school, and Ben was only 12. How could I break their hearts as mine had been broken? How could I tell them that the man they called Dad wasn't their father? After countless sleepless nights, I decided to speak to each of them individually. I told them the truth about what had happened. Alex was in shock and immediately drove home to confront Jessica. Molly cried and blamed me for tearing the family apart. Ben withdrew into himself, too young to fully comprehend the magnitude of the situation. I couldn't stay. I filed for divorce and moved to another city, hoping to rebuild my life from the ruins of my marriage. It was the hardest decision I'd ever made, but living with Jessica after everything that had happened was impossible. In my new life, I sought therapy and joined a support group for people who had experienced infidelity. It was there that I began to heal, to understand that I wasn't alone in my pain. Slowly, I started to reconnect with my children. We spent more time together, trying to forge new bonds despite the past. I wanted to be a good father to them, even if the blood that tied us wasn't mine. Years passed, and I found a way to forgive Jessica. It didn't mean I forgot or condoned her actions, but I realized that holding on to anger would only destroy me. Eventually, I met Alice. She knew about my past and supported me through it all. We built a relationship founded on trust and love, something I had thought I would never find again. This chapter of my life was full of pain and betrayal, but it also taught me resilience and the strength to move forward. Life could be harsh and unfair, but even after the darkest night, the dawn always comes. And through it all, I discovered a deeper strength to keep going, no matter what. As the reality of the situation began to sink in, my anger morphed into a desperate need for answers. How had Jessica managed to deceive me for so long? What had I missed? That evening, after the children had gone to bed, I confronted her again. We sat in the living room, the air thick with tension. Jessica sat on the edge of the couch, her eyes red from crying. I stood across from her, holding the letter and photograph that had shattered our lives. "How could you do this to us, Jessica?" I asked, my voice trembling with a mix of fury and sorrow. "How could you lie to me for 20 years? She looked down at her hands, unable to meet my gaze. "I didn't mean for it to happen," she said softly. "It started before we got married. I loved you, but I also had feelings for Mark. I thought I could move on, but I never could." "Feelings?" I repeated, incredulous. This isn't just about feelings, Jessica. This is about betrayal. You had children with another man and let me believe they were mine. How could you do that? Tears streamed down her face as she tried to explain. I was scared, David. I didn't want to lose you. I didn't want to break up our family. I thought it would be better this way. Better for who? I shouted, unable to contain my rage. Better for you? What about me? What about the kids? You let us all live a lie. She sobbed, her shoulders shaking. I know, I'm so sorry. I never wanted to hurt you. I never wanted any of this to happen. I felt my anger start to wane, replaced by an overwhelming sense of sadness. Jessica, you've destroyed everything. How can we ever come back from this? She looked up at me, her eyes filled with despair. I don't know, she whispered. I don't know if we can. The next few days were a blur. We barely spoke, each of us lost in our thoughts. The children sensed that something was wrong, but we hadn't yet found the courage to tell them the truth. The weight of the secret was unbearable, pressing down on me like a physical force. Finally, I decided it was time to tell the kids. They deserved to know the truth, no matter how painful it would be. We gathered in the living room, the same room where I had confronted Jessica. Kids, there's something we need to talk about, I began, my voice heavy with emotion. Alex, Molly, and Ben looked at me with wide, apprehensive eyes. Jessica sat beside me, her face pale. She took a deep breath and nodded for me to continue. Your mom and I, we have some difficult news to share. It's about our family. Molly was the first to speak. What is it, Dad? What's wrong? I exchanged a glance with Jessica, then turned back to the kids. We found out that I'm not your biological father. Your mother had an affair with another man, and he's your real father. The room fell silent. The shock on their faces was palpable. Alex was the first to react. He stood up abruptly, his face a mask of anger. What the hell, Mom? How could you do this? Molly started to cry, her sobs echoing through the room. This can't be true. It's not true. You're my dad. You always have been. Ben, too young to fully grasp the situation, simply looked confused and hurt. Dad, what does this mean? Are you leaving us? I felt my heart break for the millionth time. I'm not leaving you, Ben. I love you all so much, and nothing will ever change that. But your mom and I, we can't stay together after this. It's too much. Alex stormed out of the room, slamming the door behind him. Molly buried her face in her hands, and Ben came over to sit on my lap, seeking comfort. Jessica reached out to touch Molly's shoulder, but she flinched away. The days that followed were some of the hardest of my life. I filed for divorce, unable to see a way forward with Jessica after everything that had happened. I packed my things and moved to a small apartment in the city, leaving behind the house that had been our home for so many years. Jessica and I tried to navigate our new reality, sharing custody of the kids and doing our best to co-parent despite the pain. I threw myself into my work and therapy, trying to find a way to heal and move on. Through it all, I kept the photograph and letter that had started it all. They were a constant reminder of the betrayal, but also of the strength I had found to survive it. As days turned into weeks, the uncertainty gnawed at me. I couldn't simply take Jessica's word for it. I needed proof, concrete evidence to confirm the horrifying truth she had confessed. I arranged for DNA tests, hoping against hope that the results would somehow be different from what she had said. The test took longer than I expected, each day stretching out in agonizing anticipation. I tried to maintain a facade of normalcy for the kids, but every interaction with them felt tinged with doubt and sadness. I avoided Jessica as much as possible, unable to look at her without feeling a surge of anger and betrayal. Finally, the day arrived. The envelope containing the results felt like a lead weight in my hands. I sat at the kitchen table, staring at it, trying to muster the courage to open it. With trembling fingers, I tore it open and scanned the contents. My worst fears were confirmed. None of the children were biologically mine. The ground seemed to fall away beneath me as I read the results over and over, hoping for some mistake, some error that would make everything right again. But there was no mistake. The truth was laid bare before me in black and white. I couldn't breathe. The room closed in around me, the walls seeming to pulse with the rhythm of my racing heart. The pain was so intense it was physical, a crushing weight on my chest. I dropped the papers, unable to look at them any longer. The next few hours were a blur. I wandered through the house, touching the remnants of a life I thought I knew. The photographs on the walls, the toys scattered in Ben's room, the textbooks on Alex's desk. Everything felt like a cruel joke. My life, my family, had been built on a lie. I knew I had to tell the kids. They deserved to know the truth, no matter how much it would hurt. But how could I shatter their world as mine had been shattered? How could I look into their eyes and tell them that everything they thought they knew about their family was a lie? I waited until that evening, gathering them in the living room once more. Jessica sat beside me, her face a mask of grief. The kids sensed the gravity of the moment, their faces pale with worry. "Kids, we need to talk," I began, my voice strained. I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself. "You remember we talked about some difficult things recently, about your mom and another man?" They nodded, their expressions a mix of confusion and fear. "We did some tests," I continued, "to find out the truth. And the tests confirmed that I'm not your biological father." The silence that followed was unbearable. Molly's face crumpled as tears streamed down her cheeks. Alex's eyes blazed with anger, and Ben just looked bewildered. "But you're our dad!" Molly cried, her voice breaking. "You raised us! You were always there! How can you not be our dad?" I reached out to her, but she pulled away. "I am your dad," I said, my voice choked with emotion. "Biology doesn't change that. I love you all so much, and nothing will ever change that." Alex stood up, his fists clenched. "Why did you have to tell us? Why couldn't you just let us live our lives? Now everything's ruined." Ben clung to my side, his small hands gripping my shirt. "Dad, are you still going to be here for us?" I hugged him tightly, tears streaming down my face. "Yes, Ben, I'll always be here for you, no matter what." Jessica reached out to touch Alex, but he shrugged her off. "How could you do this to us, Mom? How could you lie to us all these years?" She sobbed, her body shaking. "I never meant to hurt you. I thought I was doing the right thing. I didn't want to break up our family." Molly stood up, wiping her tears angrily. "Well, congratulations, Mom. You did it. You broke up our family." She stormed out of the room, slamming the door behind her. Alex followed, his face a mask of rage. Ben stayed close to me, his small body trembling. I held him close, my heart breaking for all of us. The devastation was complete. The family I had known and loved was gone, replaced by a painful, unfamiliar reality. The days that followed were a struggle. Jessica and I barely spoke, each of us trying to find a way to cope with the overwhelming pain. I threw myself into work, seeking distraction from the routine of my job. I started seeing a therapist, hoping to find some way to navigate the emotional wreckage of my life. Jessica did the same, seeking help to deal with her guilt and grief. We agreed to share custody of the kids, trying to provide some sense of stability for them amid the chaos. But the damage was done. Our family was irreparably changed, and we were left to pick up the pieces as best we could. The DNA tests had confirmed the truth, but they had also torn our lives apart. And so, we moved forward, step by painful step, trying to find a new way to live in the wake of the devastation. The days following the DNA test results were a blur of raw emotions. I oscillated between seething anger and overwhelming sadness. Every corner of the house, every shared memory, every small token of our life together felt tainted. I couldn't escape the pain, and I couldn't forgive the betrayal. I avoided Jessica as much as possible. Seeing her brought back a flood of memories, each one now tinged with bitterness and deceit. I took to sleeping in the guest room, the bed cold and unfamiliar. I lay awake at night replaying every moment of our life together, searching for signs I had missed. How had I been so blind? Work became my sanctuary. I immersed myself in projects, stayed late at the office, and accepted every business trip that came my way. Anything to avoid going home, where the walls seemed to close in on me. My colleagues noticed the change, offering sympathetic glances but saying little. They didn't know the full story, and I wasn't ready to share it. The children were struggling too. Molly had always been the sensitive one, and she took the news the hardest. She barely spoke to me, her anger and hurt radiating from her in waves. She blamed me for tearing the family apart, for insisting on the DNA test that had confirmed our worst fears. Alex, on the other hand, directed his anger at Jessica. He refused to speak to her, barely acknowledging her presence. He threw himself into his studies and sports, using them as a way to escape the pain at home. He moved back to his college dorm sooner than expected, needing distance from the chaos. Ben was too young to fully understand, but he sensed the tension. He clung to me whenever I was home, his eyes wide with confusion and fear. I did my best to reassure him, to be there for him, but it was hard when I felt so broken myself. One evening, after a particularly long day at work, I came home to find Molly sitting on the front steps. Her face was streaked with tears, her shoulders slumped in defeat. I sat down beside her, not sure what to say. "Why did you have to ruin everything?" she whispered, her voice filled with pain. I took a deep breath, trying to find the right words. "Molly, I didn't mean to. I needed to know the truth. I couldn't live with the lies anymore." She turned to look at me, her eyes filled with a mixture of anger and sorrow. "But now everything's worse. Our family is broken, and nothing will ever be the same." I nodded, feeling the weight of her words. "I know, sweetheart. I know it's hard, but we'll get through this. We're still a family, and we'll find a way to move forward." She shook her head, fresh tears spilling down her cheeks. "It doesn't feel like it. It feels like everything is falling apart." I reached out to hug her, but she pulled away, standing up abruptly. "I'm going to bed," she said, her voice cold. She walked inside, leaving me alone with my thoughts. The weeks turned into months, and slowly, painfully, we began to adjust to our new reality. Jessica and I finalized the divorce, a process that was both heartbreaking and necessary. We sold the house, the place that had once been filled with so much love and laughter, now only a reminder of our shattered dreams. I found a small apartment in the city, closer to work, and far enough from the old neighborhood to allow me a fresh start. Jessica stayed in the house until it sold, then moved to a smaller place nearby. We shared custody of the kids, trying to create some semblance of normalcy for them. Therapy became a lifeline for me. My therapist, Dr. Thompson, helped me navigate the storm of emotions I was experiencing. We talked about the anger, the pain, and the betrayal. She helped me understand that it was okay to feel what I was feeling and that healing would take time. I also joined a support group for people who had experienced infidelity. Hearing other stories and sharing my own helped me to know I wasn't alone. The group became a source of strength and comfort, a place where I could be honest about my feelings without judgment. Jessica sought therapy as well, trying to deal with her guilt and grief. We communicated primarily through texts and emails, discussing the kids and logistical details. Our conversations were civil but distant, the warmth and familiarity of our previous relationship completely gone. Despite everything, I tried to be there for the kids. I attended their school events, cheered at their games, and spent as much time with them as possible. I wanted them to know that, despite the upheaval, I was still their father, and I still loved them more than anything. One evening, I received a text from Alex. He wanted to talk, and we arranged to meet at a local diner. I arrived early, my heart heavy with apprehension. When he walked in, I could see the anger still simmering beneath the surface, but there was also a glimmer of something else, perhaps a willingness to understand. We sat across from each other, the silence stretching out between us. Finally, he spoke. "Dad, I'm still angry. I'm angry at Mom, at you, at everything. But I want to understand. I want to know why you did what you did." I took a deep breath, choosing my words carefully. "Alex, I know this has been incredibly hard on you and your siblings. I didn't want to cause more pain, but I needed to know the truth. I couldn't live with the lies anymore, and I wanted you to know the truth too. You deserved to know." He nodded slowly, absorbing my words. "I get that, Dad, I do. But it's still hard. It feels like our whole lives were a lie." I reached out to touch his hand, and this time, he didn't pull away. "I know, son, and I'm so sorry for that. But we can rebuild. We can find a way to move forward, even if it's different from what we thought our lives would be." We talked for hours that night, sharing our feelings and trying to find some common ground. It was a small step, but it felt like progress. The pain of the betrayal was still there, a constant undercurrent in my life. But slowly, I was learning to live with it, to find moments of peace amidst the chaos. The road ahead was long and uncertain, but I was determined to keep moving forward, for myself and my children. The journey was far from over, but with each passing day, I found a little more strength to face the future. As the months went by, I found myself grappling with the complexities of my relationships with Alex, Molly, and Ben. Each of them was dealing with the fallout in their way, and I knew I had to find a way to be there for them, to help them navigate the storm of emotions that had engulfed our family. One evening, I sat down with Alex in my new apartment. He had agreed to spend the weekend with me, a small but significant step in our efforts to rebuild our bond. We ordered pizza, his favorite, and sat on the couch, the television playing quietly in the background. "Dad," he began, breaking the silence, "I've been thinking a lot about what you said, about why you needed to know the truth. I still feel angry, but I think I understand it a little better now." I nodded, grateful for his openness. "I appreciate that, Alex. I know this has been incredibly hard on you. I just want you to know that I'm here for you, no matter what." He looked down at his hands, his expression pensive. "I've been talking to Mom more too, trying to understand her side of things. It's complicated." I sighed, feeling a pang of empathy for him. "It is complicated. Your mom made some choices that hurt all of us, but she's still your mom, and despite everything, she loves you very much." Alex nodded, a small smile tugging at the corners of his mouth. "I know, Dad. I'm trying to figure it all out. It's just going to take time." The next day, I picked up Molly from her friend's house. She had been distant, spending as little time at home as possible. As we drove back to my apartment, I decided to try and reach out to her. "Molly, I know things have been tough lately. I just want you to know that if you ever want to talk, I'm here for you." She stared out the window, her arms crossed over her chest. "What's there to talk about, Dad? Everything's messed up. Nothing will ever be the same." I sighed, feeling the weight of her words. "You're right, things have changed, but that doesn't mean we can't find a way to move forward. We're still a family, and we'll get through this together." She turned to look at me, her eyes filled with a mixture of anger and sadness. "I just don't know how to trust anyone anymore. How do I know you won't leave us like Mom did?" I reached out to gently touch her hand. "Molly, I'm not going anywhere. I love you and your brothers more than anything in the world. I'm here, and I'll always be here for you." She didn't pull away this time, and we drove the rest of the way in silence, a small but significant step toward healing. Later that evening, I sat with Ben in his room. He was playing with his Legos, building an intricate castle. I watched him for a while, marveling at his focus and creativity. "Hey, buddy," I said softly. "How's the castle coming along?" He looked up and smiled. "It's almost done, Dad. Want to help?" I nodded, joining him on the floor. We worked together in comfortable silence for a while, adding turrets and walls to the castle. "Ben," I began, choosing my words carefully, "I know things have been confusing lately. If you ever have any questions or want to talk about anything, you can always come to me." He looked up at me, his eyes wide and earnest. "Dad, are you and Mom ever going to be together again?" My heart ached at the simplicity and innocence of his question. "No, Ben, your mom and I won't be together again. But we both love you very much, and we'll always be here for you." He nodded, seeming to accept my words. "Okay, Dad, I just want us to be happy again." I hugged him tightly, feeling a surge of love and protectiveness. "We will be, Ben. It might take some time, but we'll find our way back to happiness. I promise." As the weeks turned into months, the conversations with my children became more frequent and more open. We were all hurting, all trying to make sense of the new reality we were living in. But slowly, step by step, we began to heal. Jessica and I continued to co-parent as best we could. Our interactions remained civil, if distant, focused solely on the well-being of the children. She was working through her guilt and grief, and I hoped that in time, she would find a way to move forward as well. I leaned heavily on my therapist and support group, finding strength and solace in their understanding and encouragement. I also began to reconnect with old friends, people I had lost touch with during the turmoil. Their support meant the world to me, reminding me that I wasn't alone. Through it all, my relationship with Alex, Molly, and Ben grew stronger. We had been through a trial by fire, and while the scars would always be there, we were finding ways to move forward together. One sunny Saturday, we decided to have a picnic at the park. It was a simple outing, but it felt momentous. We laughed and played games, and for a few precious hours, we were just a family enjoying a day together. As I watched Alex and Ben toss a football and Molly chase after a kite, I felt a glimmer of hope. The road ahead was still uncertain, but we were facing it together, and that, I realized, was what truly mattered. Amid pain and betrayal, we were finding our way back to each other. And in that, there was a kind of healing, a kind of grace that made everything seem a little more bearable. We were still a family, and we would always be a family, no matter what. As life began to stabilize and a new sense of normalcy started to take root, the question of the children's biological father loomed large in our minds. It was a question that had been simmering beneath the surface since Jessica's confession, but I had been too overwhelmed to confront it. Now, with some distance from the initial shock, I felt ready to address it head-on. One evening, after the kids had gone to bed, I called Jessica. Our conversations had become more amicable over time, but there was still an undercurrent of tension. This was a topic that had the potential to stir up a lot of emotions. "Jessica," I began, "we need to talk about the kid's biological father. Have you had any contact with Mark?" She sighed heavily on the other end of the line. "I haven't spoken to him since everything came out. I don't even know where he is now." I could hear the regret in her voice. "Do you think we should try to find him? The kids deserve to know where they come from, especially now that the truth is out." There was a long pause before she responded. "You're right, David. They deserve to know, but I'm scared. I'm scared of what it might mean for them, for us." "I understand," I said softly, "but hiding it won't help. We need to face this, for their sake." We agreed to start searching for Mark. Jessica provided me with all the information she had, which wasn't much. I hired a private investigator to help track him down, hoping to find him and get some answers. The investigator's search took several weeks. During that time, I tried to prepare myself and the kids for whatever might come. I sat down with them one evening, explaining the situation as best I could. "Kids," I began, "your mom and I have decided to look for your biological father. His name is Mark. We think it's important for you to know who he is and where you come from." Alex, ever the pragmatic one, nodded. "Yeah, I guess it makes sense. I mean, we've already been through so much. What more could surprise us?" Molly was more apprehensive. "What if he doesn't want to meet us? What if he doesn't care?" I reached out to touch her hand, trying to reassure her. "We don't know what will happen, Molly, but we owe it to ourselves to try. No matter what, we'll face it together." Ben, still too young to fully grasp the complexities, simply asked, "Will he be nice?" I smiled, ruffling his hair. "I hope so, buddy. We'll find out soon." The day finally came when the investigator called with the news. He had found Mark living in a small town a few hours away. He provided an address and some basic information. Jessica and I decided to go together to meet him, leaving the kids with a trusted friend. The drive was tense and silent. Jessica was visibly nervous, and I couldn't blame her. This was a confrontation that neither of us had anticipated or wanted, but it was necessary. We arrived at a modest house on a quiet street, our hearts pounding in unison. We knocked on the door, and a moment later, it opened to reveal a man who looked older and wearier than I had imagined. He stared at us, recognition dawning in his eyes. "Jessica," he said, his voice a mix of surprise and wariness. "David." "Mark," Jessica replied, her voice trembling. "We need to talk." He invited us in, and we sat in his small living room, the air thick with unspoken words. Jessica took a deep breath and began to explain everything that had happened. The affair, the children, the DNA tests, and the fallout. Mark listened in silence, his expression a mask of shock and regret. When she finished, he turned to me, his eyes filled with a mixture of guilt and sorrow. "David, I never meant for any of this to happen. I didn't know. I didn't know they were mine." I nodded, trying to keep my emotions in check. "I understand, Mark, but now that we know, we need to figure out where to go from here. The kids deserve to know you, if you're willing." He looked down at his hands, taking a moment to process everything. "I want to meet them. I want to be a part of their lives if they'll have me." We spent the next hour discussing how to move forward. We agreed that it would be best to introduce him to the kids gradually, allowing them to adjust to the idea at their own pace. Jessica and I promised to support them through the transition, no matter what. The drive back was filled with a mixture of relief and apprehension. We had taken the first step toward addressing the past, But there were still many hurdles to overcome. I hoped that Mark's presence in the children's lives would bring some sense of closure and healing, but I knew it would take time. When we arrived home, we sat the kids down and explained what had happened. They listened quietly, their reactions a mix of curiosity, fear, and hope. "We met Mark," I said gently. "He's willing to meet you if you're ready." Alex was the first to speak. "I want to meet him. I want to know who he is." Molly nodded, though she looked more hesitant. "Me too, but I need time." Ben looked up at me with wide eyes. "Will he come to our house?" I hugged him tightly. "We'll figure it out together, Ben, one step at a time." The next few weeks were a period of cautious optimism. We arranged for the kids to meet Mark at a neutral location, a park where they could talk and get to know each other in a relaxed setting. Jessica and I were there to support them, but we stayed in the background, letting them navigate this new relationship on their terms. Mark was patient and kind, understanding the enormity of the situation. He answered their questions honestly, sharing stories from his life and showing genuine interest in theirs. The kids warmed to him slowly, each at their own pace, and I felt a glimmer of hope that this might be a step toward healing. As I watched them interact, I realized that this journey was far from over. There would be challenges and setbacks, moments of doubt and pain, but there would also be moments of connection, understanding, and love. We were piecing together the fragments of our lives, creating a new mosaic from the shattered pieces. And in that, there was a kind of beauty, a testament to our resilience and our capacity to heal. For the first time in a long time, I felt a sense of peace. We were moving forward step by step together, and that I realized was all that mattered. The weeks following the introduction of Mark into our lives were filled with a whirlwind of emotions. Each of the kids reacted differently, processing this new reality in their unique ways. As their father, it was my responsibility to help them navigate this uncharted territory, providing support and understanding as they grappled with their feelings. Alex, the eldest, was the most vocal about his thoughts and emotions. He arranged to meet Mark several times, always wanting to know more about his biological roots. One evening he came to my apartment, his expression thoughtful. "Dad," he began, sitting down at the kitchen table, "meeting Mark has been interesting. I still don't know how I feel about him, but I want to give it a chance." I nodded, grateful for his openness. "That's all I can ask for, Alex. It's a lot to process, and it's okay to have mixed feelings. Just take it one step at a time." He sighed, running a hand through his hair. "I guess I'm just trying to understand who I am now. I mean, you're my dad, and you always will be, but knowing there's another part of me out there, it's strange." I reached out to squeeze his shoulder. "It's a lot to take in, but remember, you're not defined by just one part of your life. You're a blend of all your experiences, and you'll find your way." Molly's reaction was more reserved. She had always been the sensitive one, and this situation was no exception. She attended the meetings with Mark, but kept her distance, observing more than engaging. One night I found her in her room, drawing in her sketchbook. "Molly," I said gently, sitting down beside her, "how are you feeling about everything?" She looked up at me, her eyes filled with a mix of sadness and confusion. "I don't know, Dad. It's just hard. I want to get to know Mark, but it feels like I'm betraying you." I hugged her tightly, my heart aching for her. "Sweetheart, you're not betraying me. I want you to know him, to understand where you come from. It doesn't change how much I love you or how much you mean to me." She sniffled, wiping away a tear. "I just want things to go back to the way they were." "I know," I whispered, "but we're creating a new normal, and we'll get through this together. You don't have to choose between us. We're all here for you." Ben, the youngest, had the simplest but perhaps the most poignant reaction. He accepted Mark with the open-hearted innocence that only a child can possess. To him, having another person who cared about him was just a new addition to his world, not a threat to the existing one. One afternoon, after spending time with Mark at the park, Ben came running up to me with a big smile. "Dad, Mark showed me how to play catch. He's good at it." I smiled, ruffling his hair. "That's great, buddy. I'm glad you had fun." He looked up at me with wide, earnest eyes. "Do you think it's okay if I call him Uncle Mark? I don't want to make you sad." My heart swelled with love for him. "Of course, Ben. You can call him whatever feels right to you. it doesn't change how much I love you. As the days turned into weeks, our family began to find a new rhythm. Jessica and I continued to co-parent, our focus firmly on the well-being of the children. Mark became a part of their lives, not replacing me but adding another layer of support and love. One weekend, we all gathered at a park for a picnic. It was the first time we were all together, me, Jessica, Mark, and the kids. The atmosphere was initially tense, but as the day wore on, it eased into something more relaxed and hopeful. Alex and Mark tossed a football back and forth, their laughter echoing across the park. Molly sat with Jessica, talking quietly as they watched Ben and Mark build a sandcastle. I stood back, taking it all in, a mixture of emotions swirling inside me. Jessica walked over, a tentative smile on her face. "Thank you, David, for everything. I know this isn't easy, but it means the world to the kids." I nodded, feeling a sense of peace. We're doing our best for them. That's all that matters. As the sun began to set, casting a golden glow over the park, I felt a sense of hope. Our family was different now, changed by the trials we had faced, but we were finding a way forward. The children were beginning to see that love and family could take many forms, and that understanding brought a measure of comfort to us all. We packed up our picnic, the kids chattering happily as we walked back to the cars. I looked at them, my heart filled with a mixture of pride and gratitude. We had come a long way, and there was still a long road ahead, but we were facing it together. As I drove home that evening, I reflected on the journey we had been on. It hadn't been easy, and there were still many challenges to overcome, but we had found a new way to be a family. And in that, there was hope for the future. For the first time in a long time, I felt a sense of peace. We were healing, slowly but surely, and that was enough. We would face whatever came next, together. And that, I realized, was the true meaning of family. With Mark's presence now a regular part of our lives, the next hurdle was addressing the legal and emotional battles that lay ahead. Jessica and I had committed to supporting the children and ensuring their well-being, but we knew that formalizing Mark's role in their lives was a necessary step. We began by meeting with a family lawyer to discuss the potential legal implications. The lawyer, a kind woman named Lisa, listened intently as we explained the situation, nodding thoughtfully. "This is a complex situation," she said, "but it's not insurmountable. The first step is to establish Mark's paternity legally. This will involve more DNA tests and a court process to amend the birth certificates, if that's what you decide to do." Jessica looked at me, her expression anxious. "Do we have to do this, David? Can't we just keep things as they are?" I took her hand, giving it a reassuring squeeze. "It's important for the kids, Jess. They deserve to have everything out in the open and legally recognized. It's the right thing to do." Lisa nodded in agreement. "It's also important for medical history, inheritance rights, and other legal matters. I know it's daunting, but it's the best way to ensure their future is secure." We agreed to proceed with the legal process, knowing it would be a long and potentially contentious journey. Mark was supportive, understanding the necessity of these steps, and willing to cooperate fully. The DNA test confirmed what we already knew, and the legal process began. Court dates were set and paperwork was filed. It was a stressful and emotionally taxing time, but we remained focused on the end goal, the well-being of Alex, Molly, and Ben. During this period, the children's emotions ran high. Alex, ever the pragmatist, wanted to understand every detail of the legal proceedings. He asked countless questions, trying to make sense of the complexities. "Dad, what does this mean for us? Will our last names change? Will Mark have the same rights as you?" he asked one evening, his brow furrowed in concentration. I sat down with him, explaining as best I could. "Alex, this process is about making sure that everything is clear and legal. Your last names won't change unless you want them to. And Mark will have certain legal rights, but it won't change the fact that I'm your dad." He nodded, absorbing the information. "I get it. I just want to make sure we're all okay." "We will be, Alex. This is just a step we need to take to protect everyone," I reassured him. Molly's reaction was more emotional. She struggled with the idea of the legal changes, fearing that it would somehow diminish our bond. "Dad, I don't want anything to change between us," she said, tears in her eyes. "I'm scared that this will make things different." I hugged her tightly, my heart breaking for her. "Nothing will ever change how much I love you, Molly. This is just about making sure everything is clear and fair. You're my daughter, and you always will be." Ben, on the other hand, was confused but trusting. He relied on the reassurance that both Mark and I provided, accepting the situation with the resilience that only a child can muster. Throughout the legal process, Jessica and I attended several court hearings. We presented our case, supported by the DNA evidence and our commitment to co-parenting effectively. Mark also testified, expressing his desire to be a part of the children's lives and his willingness to take on the responsibilities that came with it. The judge, a stern but fair woman, listened carefully to our testimonies. She acknowledged the complexity of our situation and the emotional turmoil we had all experienced. In the end, she ruled in favor of amending the birth certificates and granting Mark certain legal rights as their biological father. Leaving the courthouse that day, I felt a mixture of relief and exhaustion. The legal battle was over, but the emotional journey was far from complete. We had won a significant victory, but the true challenge lay in continuing to navigate the emotional landscape of our new family dynamic. In the weeks that followed, we focused on healing and building our relationships. Jessica and I continued to co-parent with a renewed sense of purpose, determined to provide a stable and loving environment for the kids. Mark became more integrated into our lives, attending school events and spending time with the children regularly. One evening, we decided to have a family dinner at my apartment. It was a chance for all of us to come together and celebrate the progress we had made. Jessica, Mark, and the kids arrived, and we set about preparing a meal together. The atmosphere was relaxed and filled with laughter, a stark contrast to the tension that had defined our interactions for so long. As we sat down to eat, Alex raised his glass. "I just want to say that I'm proud of us. We've been through a lot, but we're still here, still a family, and that's something to celebrate." We all raised our glasses, toasting the strength and resilience that had brought us through the storm. Later that night, as I tucked Ben into bed, he looked up at me with sleepy eyes. "Dad, are we going to be okay?" I smiled, brushing a strand of hair from his forehead. "Yes, Ben, we're going to be okay. We're a family, and we're stronger than ever." As I left his room and stood in the hallway, I felt a profound sense of peace. The legal and emotional battles had been tough, but we had faced them together, and we had come out stronger on the other side. We were a family, bound not just by blood but by love, resilience, and a shared commitment to each other. And that, I realized, was the true victory. With the legal battles behind us and Mark now a recognized part of our lives, it was time to focus on moving forward. Our family had been through a storm, but the clouds were beginning to part, revealing a new horizon. It was a time for healing, rebuilding, and finding joy in the everyday moments. Jessica and I worked hard to create a sense of stability for the kids. We established a routine that included regular family dinners, game nights, and outings. It wasn't always easy. There were still moments of tension and sadness, but we were committed to making it work. Mark continued to be a positive presence in the children's lives. He attended Alex's soccer games, helped Molly with her school projects, and played catch with Ben in the park. Slowly but surely, the kids were beginning to see him not as a disruptor of their world, but as an addition to it. One Saturday, we decided to take a family trip to the beach. It was the first time we had all gone away together since the truth had come out, and I hoped it would be a chance to strengthen our bonds and create new memories. We packed up the car with towels, sunscreen, and a picnic lunch, the kids chattering excitedly in the back seat. Jessica, Mark, and I shared a look of mutual determination. We were all in this together. When we arrived at the beach, the kids ran ahead, their laughter carried on the breeze. Jessica and I set up a blanket while Mark helped Ben build a sandcastle. As I watched them, I felt a sense of peace. This was what we had been working towards, a new normal where everyone had a place. After lunch, Alex suggested a game of beach volleyball. We split into teams with Mark and Alex on one side, and me, Molly, and Ben on the other. The game was filled with playful banter and laughter, the competitive spirit bringing out the best in everyone. As the sun began to set, casting a golden glow over the water, we gathered around a bonfire. The kids toasted marshmallows while Jessica and I sat back, watching them with contentment. "David," she said quietly, "I think we're going to be okay." I nodded, feeling the truth of her words. "We've come a long way, Jess, and we'll keep moving forward together. The days turned into weeks, and our new family dynamic continued to evolve. The kids settled into their routines, finding comfort in the stability we had created. There were still moments of uncertainty and adjustment, but they were becoming fewer and farther between. One evening, as I was helping Molly with her homework, she looked up at me with a thoughtful expression. "Dad," she said, "do you think things will ever go back to the way they were?" I considered her question carefully. "No, Molly, they won't go back to the way they were, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. We're creating something new, something that's ours." She nodded slowly. "I guess I just miss how simple things used to be." "I know," I said, hugging her. "But simple doesn't always mean better. We've grown a lot through this, and we're stronger because of it." She smiled, leaning into the embrace. "Thanks, Dad." As the months passed, we continued to find our rhythm. Alex excelled in his soccer games, his confidence growing with each match. Molly discovered a passion for art, spending hours in her room drawing and painting. Ben, ever the curious one, developed an interest in science, often enlisting Mark's help for his experiments. Jessica and I found a new balance in our relationship as co-parents. We communicated openly and honestly, always putting the kids' needs first. Mark became a trusted ally, his presence adding a new dimension of support and love to our family. One evening, we decided to have a family movie night. The kids chose a classic Disney film, and we all gathered in the living room with popcorn and blankets. As the movie played, I looked around at my family, feeling a profound sense of gratitude. We had been through so much, but we had come out the other side stronger and more united. The journey had been painful and difficult, but it had also brought us closer together. We had learned to rely on each other, to support each other, and to find joy in the little moments. As the credits rolled and the kids began to drift off to sleep, I felt a sense of peace. We were moving forward step by step, and that was enough. Our family was different now, but it was also more resilient, more loving, and more connected. In the end, that was all that mattered. We were a family, and we would face whatever the future held together. And in that, there was hope. As time passed and our family continued to grow and evolve, I found myself reflecting on the journey we had been through. The trials and challenges had tested us in ways we never expected, but they had also taught us valuable lessons about love, forgiveness, and resilience. One afternoon, I sat down at my desk with a cup of coffee, flipping through old photos of the kids. Each snapshot captured a moment in time, a smile, a laugh, a shared adventure. They reminded me of how far we had come and how much we had overcome together. Reflecting on our journey, I realized that forgiveness had played a central role in our healing process. Forgiving Jessica for her betrayal had been one of the hardest things I had ever done, but it had also been necessary for my peace of mind and the sake of our family. Through forgiveness, we have been able to rebuild trust and create a new foundation for our relationship. Forgiving Mark had been another challenge. His presence in our lives had initially stirred up feelings of resentment and insecurity, but over time, I had come to see him not as a threat, but as a partner in raising our children. His commitment to them and his willingness to step into the role of their father had earned my respect and gratitude. Most importantly, I had learned to forgive myself. For years, I had carried guilt and self-doubt, wondering if I could have done something differently to prevent the pain we had all experienced. But I had come to realize that I was only human, and mistakes were a part of life. What mattered was how I chose to move forward and how I chose to love and support my family. Our family dynamics had shifted in unexpected ways, but they had also brought new blessings into our lives. Mark's presence enriched the children's experiences, offering them a deeper understanding of their heritage and a broader network of love and support. As I reflected on our journey, I also thought about the future. Our family was still evolving, and there were new challenges and milestones ahead. But we faced them with a renewed sense of unity and purpose, knowing that we were stronger together than we were apart. One evening, as we gathered around the dinner table, I looked at each of my children, Alex, Molly, and Ben, and felt an overwhelming sense of pride. They had shown incredible resilience and maturity throughout the upheavals in their young lives, and they continued to amaze me with their kindness and strength. "Kids," I began, setting down my fork, I just want you to know how proud I am of each of you. You've faced challenges that most kids your age never have to, and you've done it with grace and courage." Alex smiled, a hint of pride in his eyes. "Thanks, Dad. It hasn't been easy, but I think we're doing okay." Molly nodded, her expression thoughtful. "Yeah, it's been a journey, but I think we've all grown because of it." Ben, ever the optimist, chimed in. "I like having Mark around. He's fun." Jessica reached across the table, squeezing my hand. "David, thank you for everything. For forgiving me, for supporting the kids, for being there through it all." I smiled, feeling a sense of peace settle over me. "We're a family, Jess. We've been through a lot, but we've come out stronger, and I wouldn't have it any other way." As we finished dinner and cleared the table, I thought about how far we had come. Our journey had been marked by pain and heartache, but it had also been filled with moments of joy, laughter, and love. We had faced our fears and our uncertainties together, emerging on the other side with a deeper appreciation for each other and the strength of our family bond. As I tucked the kids into bed that night, I kissed each of them on the forehead, whispering words of love and reassurance. They drifted off to sleep with smiles on their faces, and I knew in my heart that we were finally where we were meant to be, united, resilient, and ready to embrace whatever the future held. And so, as I turned out the lights and walked down the hallway, I felt a sense of gratitude wash over me. Our journey wasn't over, but we had found our way through the darkness, guided by love and the unwavering belief that together we could weather any storm. In the quiet of the night, I closed my eyes, knowing that our family had found its new beginning, a beginning shaped by forgiveness, resilience, and the boundless power of love. As our family settled into our new normal, we found ourselves embracing moments of joy and celebrating milestones that once seemed out of reach. Each achievement, big or small, became a testament to our resilience and the strength of our bonds. One spring afternoon, Alex graduated from high school. It was a day filled with pride and nostalgia as we watched him walk across the stage, diploma in hand. Jessica and I sat together in the audience, tears of joy streaming down our cheeks. "I can't believe he's graduating," Jessica whispered, squeezing my hand. "I know," I replied softly. "He's grown into such an incredible young man." After the ceremony, we gathered with friends and family to celebrate. Alex beamed as he hugged each of us, his excitement palpable. "Thanks, Dad," he said, his voice filled with emotion. "For everything." "You did this, Alex," I said, my heart swelling with pride. "We're just here to cheer you on." As the evening wore on, Alex shared his plans for the future, college followed by a career in engineering. He spoke passionately about his goals, and I knew he was destined for great things. Molly's graduation from middle school followed soon after. She received an award for her artwork, and we couldn't have been prouder. Her talent and dedication had blossomed over the years, and seeing her recognized was a moment of pure joy. "Dad," she said shyly as we walked to the car after the ceremony, "thanks for believing in me." "Always, Molly," I replied, smiling at her. "I'm so proud of you." Ben, ever the explorer, found his milestones to celebrate: a first-place ribbon in a science fair, and a starring role in the school play. Each achievement brought him closer to discovering his passions and talents. Through it all, Mark was there, cheering the kids on and sharing in our pride. His bond with them had deepened over the years, and he had become an integral part of our family fabric. One summer, we decided to take a family vacation to the mountains. It was a chance to unwind, reconnect, and create memories together. We hiked through forests, swam in crystal-clear lakes, and roasted marshmallows under starry skies. One evening, as we sat around a campfire, Alex spoke up. "Remember when things were so uncertain?" he said, gazing into the flames. "I never thought we'd be here together like this." "We've come a long way," Jessica replied softly, her eyes reflecting the flickering light. "But we've made it through, thanks to each other." As we toasted marshmallows and shared stories, I felt a profound sense of gratitude. Our journey had been filled with twists and turns, but through it all, we had found moments of joy and connection that bound us together. Back home, as the kids prepared for another school year, I found myself reflecting on our journey. We had faced challenges that had tested our strength and resolve, but we had also experienced moments of love, laughter, and growth. Our family had grown and evolved in ways I never could have imagined. We had learned the power of forgiveness, the importance of resilience, and the boundless capacity of love to heal and transform. As I tucked the kids into bed that night, I kissed each of them on the forehead, whispering words of love and pride. They smiled sleepily, their dreams filled with possibilities. As I turned out the lights and walked down the hallway, I knew in my heart that our family story was far from over. We had faced our fears and uncertainties together, emerging stronger and more united than ever. In the quiet of the night, I closed my eyes, grateful for the journey that had brought us to this moment. Our family had found its way through the darkness, guided by love and the belief that together we could weather any storm. And so, as we embraced the future with hope and determination, I knew that our best moments were yet to come, a testament to the enduring strength of our family and the power of love to light our way forward. Moving to a new city was both daunting and exhilarating. I had decided to leave behind the familiar and start afresh, hoping that distance would bring healing and renewal. The bustling streets and unfamiliar faces offered a blank canvas on which to rebuild my life. I settled into a small apartment in the heart of the city, surrounded by the hum of urban life. The change of scenery was a welcome distraction, but it also stirred up memories of the past, both painful and cherished. In those early days, I spent time exploring my new surroundings, finding solace in the anonymity of crowded cafes and quiet parks. The city offered me a chance to rediscover myself, away from the reminders of the past that haunted me. As I navigated this new chapter, I found myself reflecting on the journey that had brought me here. The wounds were still raw, but with each passing day, I began to feel a glimmer of hope. Time became my ally, gently easing the ache of loss and betrayal. I threw myself into work, finding purpose in the challenges of a new job. The routine of office life provided structure and a sense of achievement, helping to fill the void left by upheaval. Colleagues became friends, offering camaraderie and support as I adjusted to my new surroundings. Evenings were spent exploring the city's cultural offerings, art galleries, concerts, and local eateries. Each experience added a layer to my newfound independence, reminding me of the possibilities that lay ahead. Occasionally, I would receive updates from Jessica and glimpses into the children's lives. They were thriving, their resilience a testament to the love and stability we had cultivated together. It brought me comfort, knowing that despite the physical distance, our bond remained strong. Weekends became a time for self-discovery and reflection. I took long walks along the riverbank, letting the rhythm of the city soothe my soul. Journaling became a nightly ritual, a way to process my thoughts and emotions as I charted this new course. Slowly, the ache of loss began to subside, replaced by a sense of gratitude for the lessons learned and the strength gained. I found myself smiling more often, embracing the freedom that came with forging my path. One crisp autumn morning, as I sipped coffee on my balcony overlooking the city skyline, I felt a profound sense of peace. The wounds had begun to heal, leaving behind scars that spoke of resilience and growth. I had leaped, and in doing so, had discovered a newfound sense of purpose and possibility. As I turned the page on this chapter of my life, I knew that the journey was far from over. The city had become my sanctuary, a place where I could rebuild and reimagine my future. As I looked ahead, I felt a sense of excitement for the adventures yet to come, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and the transformative power of starting fresh. Seeking therapy and joining a support group for people who had experienced betrayal was a turning point in my healing journey. It was a decision fueled by a need for understanding and connection, a recognition that I was not alone in navigating the complexities of betrayal and rebuilding trust. The therapist, Dr. Jenkins, had a gentle demeanor and a reassuring voice that put me at ease from our first session. Sitting in her office, I found myself unraveling the tangled emotions that had weighed on me for so long: anger, sadness, confusion, and a lingering sense of betrayal. "You're taking an important step by seeking support," she said, her words a lifeline in the storm of emotions. "Healing is a process, and it's okay to take your time." In our sessions, I began to explore the impact of betrayal on my sense of self-worth and my ability to trust others. Dr. Jenkins helped me identify patterns of thinking and behavior that had been shaped by the betrayal, offering tools and strategies to cultivate self-compassion and resilience. Outside of therapy, I joined a support group at the community center, a diverse group of individuals who shared their stories with honesty and vulnerability. Listening to their experiences, I realized that betrayal took many forms and affected people in profound ways. Yet there was also strength in our shared journey of healing and growth. "Thank you for sharing your story, Sarah," a fellow group member said one evening. "It helps to know that I'm not alone in this." I nodded, feeling a sense of solidarity with Sarah and the others in the group. We offered each other empathy, encouragement, and practical advice for navigating the challenges of rebuilding trust and finding closure. As weeks turned into months, I began to notice subtle shifts in my perspective. The sessions with Dr. Jenkins and the support group discussions gave me a new language to articulate my feelings and a framework for understanding the complexities of betrayal. "There's no timeline for healing," Dr. Jenkins reminded me during one session. "It's about honoring your journey and giving yourself permission to heal at your own pace." Gradually, I started to forgive myself for the moments of doubt and self-blame that had plagued me. I embraced the realization that healing was not linear, a journey marked by moments of progress and setbacks, but ultimately guided by resilience and self-compassion. In the support group, we celebrated each other's victories, small and large. Sarah shared how she had taken a solo trip to a place she had always wanted to visit, reclaiming a sense of independence and joy. Another member, Tom, spoke about rebuilding trust in a new relationship, guided by lessons learned from past experiences. Through their stories, I found inspiration and courage to continue my journey of healing. The support group became a sanctuary, a place where I could be vulnerable and find strength in the shared experiences of others. As I reflected on my progress, I knew that seeking therapy and joining the support group had been transformative. They provided me with the tools, insights, and community I needed to navigate the complexities of betrayal and emerge stronger on the other side. In the quiet moments of reflection, I felt a deep sense of gratitude for the therapist and the group members who had walked alongside me on this journey. Their compassion and understanding helped me see that healing was possible and that I was not defined by the betrayal that had once shattered my world. Armed with newfound resilience and a renewed sense of self-worth, I looked ahead with hope and determination. The road to healing was ongoing, but I knew I was no longer walking it alone. As time passed, I found myself gradually rebuilding my relationships with the children. It was a journey filled with small steps and moments of connection that helped mend the fractures in our family's foundation. Despite the pain of the past, I was determined to be the best father I could be. We started spending more time together. Weekend outings to the park, movie nights at home, and even simple moments like cooking together in the kitchen. Each interaction was a chance to bridge the gap that had formed between us, to show them my love and commitment, and to rebuild their trust in me as their father. One sunny Saturday afternoon, Ben asked me to help him build a model airplane. As we carefully glued the pieces together, he shared stories about his friends at school and his dreams of becoming an astronaut. I listened attentively, marveling at his imagination and resilience. "Dad," he said suddenly, looking up at me with his bright eyes, "do you think we'll always be okay?" I paused, meeting his gaze with sincerity. "Yes, Ben," I replied gently. "We're a family, and families stick together through thick and thin." He nodded thoughtfully, a small smile playing on his lips. In that moment, I knew that despite the challenges we had faced, we were on the path to healing and understanding. Molly, with her artistic spirit, often asked me to critique her latest drawings. We would sit side by side at the kitchen table, pencils and sketchbooks scattered around us, as she poured her heart into her creations. Her confidence grew with each stroke of the pencil, and I was proud to see her blossoming into a young woman of strength and grace. "Thanks, Dad," she said one evening, slipping her latest artwork into my hands, "for believing in me." "I'll always believe in you, Molly," I replied, touched by her gesture. "You're capable of achieving anything you set your mind to." Alex, nearing the end of high school, faced the pressures of exams and college applications. We spent late nights discussing his future aspirations and the challenges he encountered along the way. My role shifted from protector to mentor, guiding him with wisdom gleaned from my own experiences. "Dad," he admitted one evening, "I wasn't sure if I could trust you again, but you've shown me that family means more than mistakes." Tears welled in my eyes as I embraced him, overwhelmed with gratitude for his forgiveness and understanding. Together, we navigated the complexities of our new dynamic, a blended family reshaped by resilience and forgiveness. Jessica and I worked as partners in parenting, supporting each other as we nurtured our children's growth and well-being. As the months passed, our home became filled with laughter, shared meals, and the comforting presence of each other. We celebrated birthdays, milestones, and quiet victories that marked our journey toward healing. Looking back, I realized that rebuilding our family wasn't about erasing the scars of betrayal, but about embracing our imperfections and learning to love fiercely despite them. Our bonds had grown stronger through adversity, rooted in a foundation of love, forgiveness, and unwavering commitment. In the quiet moments of reflection, I knew that our journey was far from over. But as I watched my children laugh and play together, I felt a sense of peace knowing that we were building a future filled with hope and possibility, a testament to the enduring power of love and resilience. As the seasons changed and our family continued to grow closer, I found myself reflecting on the journey we had taken together. The wounds of betrayal had healed into scars, reminders of the challenges we had overcome and the strength we had discovered within ourselves. One evening, gathered around the dinner table, laughter echoed through our home. Alex, now a college student, shared stories of his latest adventures on campus, his excitement contagious. Molly, with her vibrant spirit, recounted her plans for an upcoming art exhibition, her eyes sparkling with anticipation. And Ben, ever curious and adventurous, regaled us with tales of his latest science project. Watching them interact with each other, I felt a swell of pride and gratitude. Despite the hardships we had faced, we had emerged as a family united by love, resilience, and a deep-rooted bond that transcended past pain. Jessica and I had found a renewed sense of partnership and trust, supporting each other as we navigated the complexities of co-parenting and rebuilding our relationship. Our conversations were filled with honesty and vulnerability, strengthening the foundation upon which we had rebuilt our family. Amid our busy lives, we made time for family traditions, holiday celebrations, movie nights, and spontaneous adventures that brought us closer together. Each moment was a testament to the healing power of forgiveness and the resilience of the human spirit. One weekend, we took a trip to the beach, a place where we had created cherished memories in years past. As we walked along the shoreline, the children raced ahead, their laughter mingling with the sound of crashing waves. I held Jessica's hand, grateful for the journey that had brought us to this place of peace and joy. "Look how far we've come," she said softly, her eyes reflecting the love and gratitude we shared. "Yes," I replied, squeezing her hand gently, "and I wouldn't change a thing." As we watched the sunset painting the sky in hues of pink and gold, I felt a sense of hope and optimism for the future. Our family had weathered the storms of betrayal and uncertainty, emerging stronger and more resilient than ever before. At that moment, I knew that our story was far from over. We had faced our darkest moments together and had found light in unexpected places. As we looked forward to the future, I embraced the challenges and opportunities that lay ahead, knowing that we would face them with courage, love, and unwavering determination. And so, as we walked back to our car hand in hand, I felt a deep sense of peace, knowing that our family's journey was filled with hope, love, and endless possibilities, a testament to the power of forgiveness, resilience, and the enduring bonds of family. As our family continued to grow and thrive, I found myself embracing new beginnings with a sense of optimism and gratitude. The scars of the past had faded into reminders of our resilience, and each day brought new opportunities for growth and connection. Alex had graduated from college with honors, his determination and hard work paving the way for a promising career in engineering. I watched with pride as he embarked on this new chapter of his life, his passion and dedication shining through in everything he pursued. Molly's art had gained recognition, and she had been invited to showcase her work in galleries across the city. Her creativity blossomed with each painting, each piece a reflection of her journey of self-discovery and expression. Ben, ever the adventurer, had discovered a love for environmental science. He spent weekends volunteering at local parks, his enthusiasm contagious as he educated others about the importance of conservation and sustainability. Our family traditions continued to evolve, infused with new memories and shared experiences. We celebrated holidays with laughter and joy, gathered around the dinner table for heartfelt conversations, and supported each other through life's triumphs and challenges. Jessica and I had found a renewed sense of partnership and companionship, navigating life's twists and turns with grace and understanding. Our love deepened through the trials we had faced, and we cherished every moment we spent together as a family. One summer evening, we gathered in the backyard for a barbecue, surrounded by friends and loved ones. The air was filled with the aroma of grilled food and the sound of children playing. As I looked around at the smiling faces, I felt a profound sense of gratitude for the journey that had brought us to this place of peace and contentment. "I never imagined we would be here," Jessica said, her voice filled with emotion, "but I'm grateful for every moment." "Me too," I replied, wrapping my arms around her. "We've come a long way." As the sun set in a blaze of orange and purple hues, I knew that our family's story was still unfolding. We had faced adversity with courage and resilience and had emerged stronger and more united than ever before. As we looked forward to the future, I embraced the unknown with optimism and hope. Our journey taught me the power of forgiveness, the strength of love, and the beauty of second chances. And as we embraced new beginnings together, I knew that our best days were yet to come, a testament to the enduring power of family, faith, and the limitless possibilities of the human spirit. As the years passed, our family continued to thrive in the embrace of love and shared experiences. Each day brought new challenges and triumphs, woven together into the tapestry of our lives, a testament to the strength of our bonds and the resilience we had cultivated. Alex had established himself in his career, achieving milestones that filled us with pride. His dedication to engineering was matched only by his commitment to his family, always making time to join us for dinners and family outings, despite his busy schedule. Molly had flourished as an artist, her work adorning not only galleries but also the hearts of those who were touched by her talent. Her passion for creativity had led her to explore new mediums and themes, each piece a reflection of her growth and introspection. Ben had followed his passion for environmental science, pursuing a career that allowed him to make a difference in the world. His enthusiasm for sustainability inspired others to join him in the fight to protect our planet, a cause he championed with unwavering dedication. Our family traditions have evolved over the years, blending old memories with new traditions. Holidays were celebrated with laughter and love, creating cherished moments that strengthened our connection to each other and our shared history. Jessica and I continued to grow together, supporting each other through life's joys and challenges. Our love had deepened with time, a testament to the bond forged through forgiveness, resilience, and unwavering commitment to our family. One summer afternoon, we gathered at the beach, the place where our journey had begun so many years ago. The children, now adults, laughed and played in the surf, their voices carrying on the breeze like echoes of the past. As I watched them, my heart swelled with gratitude. We had faced adversity together and had emerged stronger because of it. The scars of betrayal had healed into reminders of our resilience, and our family had blossomed into a testament to the power of forgiveness and second chances. "I never thought we would be here," Jessica said softly, breaking the peaceful silence that surrounded us. "Neither did I replied, taking her hand in mine. "But I'm grateful for every moment." As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden glow over the ocean, I knew that our family story was far from over. We had faced challenges that had tested our strength and resolve, but we had also experienced moments of joy, laughter, and growth. Looking ahead, I embraced the future with optimism and hope, knowing that our journey together would continue to unfold with new adventures and opportunities. Our family had found its way through the darkness, guided by love and the belief that together we could weather any storm. As we stood together on the beach, surrounded by the beauty of the ocean and the warmth of our love, I knew that our best days were yet to come, a testament to the enduring power of family, resilience, and the limitless possibilities of the human spirit.